Hey guys, how are you? Welcome to another upload. Today I wanted to talk about my favorite band, or one of my favorite bands, and their name is Kero Kero Bonito. I know it doesn't say Kero Kero Bonito on here, but this band right here, I know that doesn't look like a band, it's just one girl, but it's not one girl. It is a whole band. Kero Kero Bonito. If you have not listened to Kero Kero Bonito, you are really missing out. They are an amazing band. They are literally they have grown on me so much. So let me brief you a little bit on who they are and why you should listen to them. So first of all, they are a Britpop band from the UK, of course, and they have such a cute sound. Like, if you listen to, retracting. Their sound is pretty, recognizable. If you hear a Kero Kero Bonito song, you'll know that's KKB right there. So first of all, I think that if a band or a group or an artist or musician, whatever, has a very distinct sound, that automatically places them on a higher priority for me to listen to at that point, or to go back to, because they're memorable and they have a unique sound. I just love that about them. So that's number one. Two, the lead singer, Sarah Bonito, which is her stage name, she is amazing. She's just a goddess, I swear. She is so cute and cool. And I'm actually, the reason why I got really into them is because my friend Lily actually sent me them. She was like, I don't like them. I don't see myself listening to them, but they're right up your alley, my dude. You should check them out. And I was like, normally when people recommend me things, I'm like, sure, and then I never get to it. But I did, and I did not regret it, because I remembered a few months or even a year possibly before she had recommended me them, I had listened to a song by them in the car while my friend Amanda was driving. It was a very fun joyride that we were having. We were just, listening to music, driving. I forgot what we were doing. It was fun. And a Kero Kero Bonito song came on, but I didn't know who they were at the time. It was in Spotify, it'll just kind of create a little playlist for you, or after a album stops playing, they'll play similar sounding songs. That's what probably had happened, and Kero Kero Bonito had come on, and I was jamming to, I believe it was Trampoline was the first song I heard by them. So Trampoline is an amazing song. Yeah. So I was drawn to them, and my friend recommended them to me, and I checked them out, and I immediately got addicted to them, because when I actually started listening to their first mixtape album, which is Intro Bonito. It's one of my personal favorite records of all time. Intro Bonito. It's really, really great. It has a very low quality kind of vibe to it, because it is an early release of theirs. Some would consider it almost like a demo based sort of mixtape in a way, because it's very it has an unfinished sound in a lot of people's opinions. I really enjoy the authentic sound of I made this and I am a person just like you, and you can kind of do something similar. I like that. It makes me feel very motivated, but also it feels very down to earth in the sense of the tracks are just very relatable to me. Sick Beat, for example, is just very fun, and it's actually sampling Mario 64. I'm not into sewing, baking, dressmaking, not eating, bitching, submitting. Which is just such a, it's nice to see something that you can recognize so well and you have such a connection to being sampled in a song. It just makes it much more personable. I love it. And the song is so damn catchy. Sarah rapping is what I live for, and you should also live for it by checking them out. They're fucking great. Of course, Sarah is the singer. You hear her vocals the entire time, so you're drawn to her. But behind the scenes, you have, I believe it, I don't know if I'm a fake fan here, but I'm trying to remember if I think it's just Gus actually that does the mixing, or it might be Gus and Jamie that both do the mixing and the editing. I'm not 100% sure on that. They're both involved behind the scenes somehow, and they do have some vocal appearances here and there on their latest album, which I'll get to. But they're really talented, and they all have such a good, synergy between them. It's like no other. So let me go on with my favorite song. So Sick Beat is one of my favorite songs for sure. There's also songs in their later album, such as, well, actually, before we get to the later album, there is Park Song, which is just so strange and cool, and it is so much of what I want in a song that I didn't even realize that I wanted. It also takes me back, because when I first listened to KKB, it was when I was living in New Jersey for a while, and I just, you know, when you listen to an album, I don't know if you know this, but for me at least, it's a direct correlation. When I listen to a certain artist or album or song, it takes me directly back to like around the time when I listened to it for the first time, or I listened to it very often. And I love that, because I would walk, I'm going to sound dramatic here, but it was pretty long sometimes. I would walk for like 45 to 50 minutes to my house from the train stop sometimes, because I lived in like the suburban area of New Jersey, and you know, late at night, you know, when there are I was like 16, 17, so I didn't drive, 18 even, so you know, I would walk sometimes if I didn't want to pay for a fucking cab to come back from the city, and I would listen to and sing to Kero Kero Bonito almost like the whole way throughout, like winter, spring, summer, fall, like every season, and I didn't even realize how often I would listen to them. I listened to them daily so often, they became a part of my routine, and I have just, yeah. So when I listen to certain songs, I just imagine myself back when I was like 17, a few years ago, just singing along, walking through the, you know, like it's suburbs, but it's kind of more like rural, like it's rural to me because I'm from the city. And it just takes you to like this like fantasy sort of like headspace. It's very nice and calming, actually. Thinking back, passing through like little like rivers, and just having the sights of trees and small little houses. Just this quaint view as you're singing along to these really happy, upbeat songs that are just very childish in nature, but they have a very deep underlying meaning that can be applied to your adult life as well. So how I like to view the albums are, Intro Bonito would be like your childhood years. Let's go. And then when you move on to Bonito Generation, which is an amazing album, it is more of like your adolescence, I suppose, because or like adulthood, I guess. Like, yeah, like you're getting there, like you're graduating. That's kind of the whole theme, hence the whole graduation cap and gown. Speaking of which, I have actually listened to that album the most during my senior year of high school, and as I graduated, I literally listened to Graduation by Kero Kero Bonito, just an FYI. Like, as I was behind the stage, I was like, I have been waiting for this moment for so long. I listened to Graduation, and it's not an emotional song, it's a very fun song. It's actually kind of, I don't know, I always kind of view like the song like Homework, which is on Intro Bonito, and Graduation is kind of like mocking the system in a way.
Mama says I can make it, I just have to work hard. Finish all of your homework, and then you will go far,
There's a lot of ways you can view the lyrics, but yeah, I don't know, it's fun, it's great. Then they released an EP called, well, abbreviated as ToTep, the One True EP. This is what made me have a sinking feeling in my heart at first, because I live for the positivity behind Kero Kero Bonito. Now, a lot of people, if you are a KKB fan watching this right now, you're probably like, fuck you, like, whatever. But at first, I was excited because I'm like, I can't wait for a new Kero Kero Bonito song, because the last one that had come out had been Forever Summer Holiday, which was a great song. I listened to it all summer long, and then when summer ended, I would listen to it when I missed a summer, and it would make me feel bittersweet. I love that song and that video. It's so great, because you have the contrast of, like, you know, it's raining, it's terrible weather, but they're still at the beach and singing, and the song is just so wholesome, and the video is so cute, and you get to see everyone interacting. I love their music videos. I love music videos in general, but Kero Kero Bonito does such a great job at it. And that's another thing. They're not like insanely famous yet. They are famous, but they're not like extremely famous yet. And they still work with whatever budget they're able to work with, and it is amazing. And that just gives me inspiration and hope that anyone can create good media if they just put their mind to it. And eventually, yeah, the quality will the quality will increase as their experience goes on, and as they get more revenue based on the attention that they receive. So you don't necessarily have to have $1 million in your bank account to start singing and making videos or any sort of content that you'd like to do. You can work with what you have and eventually move up the ladder. ToTep, the One Tree EP is released, and this is when I freaked out a little bit because I thought that this is it. Because it was very, very drastically different from anything that they had done before. And artists go through this a lot. Significant change in genre sometimes and sound. At first, I will admit, I did not exactly love it. I was kind of like, what? Confused? Because the thing is, there's a very dark sound. The new sound is very dark and grim. It's not like scary. It's just like, it still has an uppity tune, but it's more like melancholic, more... You have to listen to it to know. It's funny because it became one of my, if not the best, my most cherished album of all time. The next one that gets released, the actual album. The predecessor to ToTep. So the single that's released was Only Acting, which at first I was not like, oh, this is a bad song, but I was worried because I was like, is the Kero Kero Bonito that I know and love dead? You know, essentially. And I do this thing where when a new song comes out by an artist that I like, I give it a few listens and eventually I end up loving it, most of the time. That's what happened. I downloaded it on Spotify. I got really addicted to the song and the music video. It ended up becoming one of my favorite songs. I just absolutely loved it. It was great. Sorry, this is when the single came out. Then eventually, the ToTep, I'm just gonna call it ToTep, whatever. The ToTep EP got released, and I really enjoyed it as a whole. It was very short, and it captured this very specific vibe that I was not expecting to get from Kero Kero Bonito, but I view that as like, this is post-graduation, you know, post-getting out of high school, and you're kind of realizing, like, the world's not all fucking sunshine and flowers after all. It's actually kind of scary and can be depressing sometimes and can just be hard to get through. But, like, you can do it. You know, you have to get through it. This is a very vague interpretation of it. This is just the feeling that I get from it, that it invokes to me personally. This is not saying this is an objective point that each album is trying to make. This is just my own interpretation based off of mood, not necessarily off of lyrics, if that makes any sense. Then moving forward in 2018, because it's 2019 right now. Oh my goodness. Time and Place was released, which is my favorite album. I just love it so much. I have listened to it countless times. So many times. And at first, I really did not enjoy it that much. Like, I loved it, but I was like, this is not going to be as memorable or as, like, it's not going to hold that place in my heart that, like, Intro Bonito or Bonito Generation had held for me. And I was a little bit disappointed because I thought after ToTep, it would go back to classic Bonito. But no, they stuck with their gritty sound. They're using real instruments, which is just interesting because they're more of like MIDI and like weird, cool electronic beats. And now they're moving on using actual instruments. And I believe Gus and Jamie both do play actual instruments. I don't remember who does what because sorry. But after this album had released, I fell in love with it. Only Acting is my favorite song. It's amazing. I showed in another video that I did a little collage based on the Time and Place album / Only Acting because I eventually saw them live, and that was an amazing, amazing, amazing show. It was so much more than I could have imagined because I was practically front row. It was a very small, tight venue, and this might sound depressing at first, but I went alone, actually, because I don't even remember who was supposed to go with me. That's not even important, but there were a few people up in the air about going, and I ended up just going alone because they're so important to me. And when I went to the show, it felt so surreal. I was not, like, crying or anything like I had at, like, the BTS concert, but it did make me feel great because I had a very stressful year, very stressful few years. And they genuinely, I know a lot of people say that about everything, but this band has gotten me through so much because just literally humming or singing their songs when it's not even playing had gotten me through so many just miserable shifts at work, so many exhausting, tiring, depressing days at class or school, whatever, and at home, and it just brings you to this nice place. And I feel like with Time and Place, it's not trying to necessarily hide that the world can be ugly or you can have this negative feeling. It's just saying it will pass, and you can just embrace that and kind of make it something to motivate you. And with only acting specifically, I just fell in love with that video, and I fell in love with the whole concept behind the song. It reminds me of Perfect Blue. If you have not watched Perfect Blue, it's a great movie. It's an anime. It's amazing. It's very, very real. Trigger warning, there are some very, very concerning scenes in this movie, but it's amazingly animated. And if you're familiar with Black Swan actually, whoever directed that, I don't remember, bought the copyright to Perfect Blue because the movie is so heavily influenced and based off of the anime Perfect Blue. So just check it out. It's better than Black Swan. There are so many scenes that are like frame by frame ripoffs of Perfect Blue, by the way. So just check it out. It's great. But that video gave me those sort of vibes. And I'd also just had this, I just connect to a lot of the songs because I can apply almost any song to myself, but at the time it really did feel, and even now sometimes, it feels like sometimes I'm trying so hard to present myself as a certain person or really try to make myself feel like I should be a certain way, appear a certain way to others, or I should appear a certain way to myself, and I try to trick myself into thinking everything's great, but it's not. Such a wonky way to explain how I relate to the song. Yeah. And then time and place as a whole, it's really just about how quickly time moves and how you can't necessarily keep up with it, but it's gonna go by. And it's not about dwelling on the past or just being so concerned over the future. You gotta take it day by day. You gotta enjoy the now. But it's okay to get nostalgic. It's okay to worry about the future. These are things that make us human, right? And I really got to just immerse myself in the album. Again, I mentioned in my 2018 video, after like the death of my dog and the breakup with my ex-boyfriend and all this shit, it got me through it. It made me, sometimes you need to feel sad, you need to feel angry, you need to feel these negative emotions. And it helped me feel that, because after a while, it's hard to actually cry on your own, and sometimes you need to cry. But sometimes I need to use media to help me release that. So this has been the number one, other than like BTS, which maybe I'll make another video on that. Yeah, that has truly gotten me through shit. Really. And thank you, Kero Kero Bonito, for making my life a lot more bearable, and potentially even, might be a stretch, but making sure that I'm still here creating content of some sort, or just trying, like, doing the things that I have to do in life. But yeah, please do listen to them. If you don't like them, fine. Maybe they're not for everyone, but they are one of my favorite bands, and if that means anything to you, I recommend checking them out and supporting them, because they're still not as well known as other artists out there. There are amazing artists. That's another thing that I just want to recommend in general for people. Please, there's nothing wrong with enjoying music on the radio. There are some songs on the radio that I'm sure I enjoy, but if you're limiting yourself just to whatever anyone else is listening to or watching, you're really missing out on a whole nother world. Please try to support smaller artists and smaller creators, because that is the only way to get new content, like, and better content created. You don't want to just create a system where the same things become popular and the same sorts of people become famous, because then it loses a lot of value and we don't grow. And it's very important to look at people who are on a similar level as you. They create content that you can really relate to, instead of just supporting people that have billions is obviously an exaggeration, millions of followers. Maybe check out some people who have like 10,000 followers or 1,000 or even less. If you come across it and you happen to like their stuff, you like it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm good. Oh shit. Yo, that shit was so good.